Part 53. The Prophet's First Friday Sermon. The Prophet continued towards Medina. As he was mid-journey, it was time for the Friday prayer, so he stopped at the tribe of the Banu Salama. The Prophet's first Friday sermon, therefore, was neither in Masjid Quba nor the yet-to-be-built Prophet's Mosque. The companions were already praying the Friday prayer in Medina, as it was commanded by the Prophet for Muslims living in freedom, and so the Friday prayer is a rare instance whereby the companions implemented an act of worship before the Prophet. The Prophet stood up and gave a very brief sermon. In fact, every one of the Prophet's recorded sermons were 3 to 5 minutes long, and the prayers were much longer. He said, "It is a sign of understanding that a person shortens the sermon and lengthens the prayer. This is contrary to modern customs of giving long sermons and brief prayers." The Prophet then gave the following sermon: "All praise is for Allah. I praise Him, ask for His assistance, seek His forgiveness, and request His guidance. I believe in Him and I do not deny Him, and I oppose those who disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, alone and without partners, and that Muhammad is His slave and messenger sent with guidance, light, and sincere advice. At a point when no messengers had arrived for some time, knowledge had decreased, people were misguided, time stood still, the hour, that is, the day of judgment, had drawn close, and the appointed term was imminent. Whoever obeys Allah and His messenger is on the right path, and whoever disobeys them has been negligent, gone astray, and is greatly misguided. I advise you to be conscious of Allah, for the best advice one Muslim can give another is to prepare for their hereafter and to be conscious of Allah. So take heed of that which Allah has warned you about Himself. That is the best advice and the best reminder. Whoever embodies consciousness, taqwa, out of fear and trepidation, and sincerely seeks assistance, will attain whatever they desire in the hereafter. Whoever rectifies his relationship with Allah in private and public, purely for the sake of His face, that is, seeking His pleasure, will be remembered and honored in this life, and his good deeds will be stored for after his death, when a person will be in need of what they sent forward and will find nothing else. Then he will wish that his misdeeds were far off.
And Allah warns you about Himself, and Allah is ever gracious to His servants. Surah 3, verse 30.
Allah is the one who spoke the truth and fulfilled His promise. It is a promise that can never be abandoned. For Allah Exalted says,
My word cannot be changed, nor am I unjust to my creation. Surah 50, verse 29.
Be conscious of Allah in your affairs of this world and of the hereafter, in private and in public.
For whoever is mindful of Allah, He will absolve them of their sins and reward them immensely. Surah 65, verse 5. And whoever is mindful of Allah has truly achieved a great triumph. Surah 33, verse 71. Consciousness of Allah repels His anger, punishment, and wrath. Consciousness of Allah brightens one's face, pleases one's Lord, and raises one's rank. So take your blessings, and do not neglect your relationship with Allah. Allah has taught you His book and explained His way, so that He can clearly distinguish between those who are truthful and those who are liars. Surah 29, verse 3. So, be good, just as Allah was good to you, oppose His enemies, and strive for the cause of Allah in the way He deserves, for it is He who has chosen you, and named you the ones who submit. Surah 22, verse 78. So that those who were to perish, and those who were to survive might do so after the truth had been made clear to both. Surah 8, verse 42.
There is no strength except with Allah, so increase in your remembrance of Him, and work for what comes after death. Whoever rectifies his relationship with Allah will be sufficed in his relationship with the people, because Allah judges over the affairs of the people. But the people do not judge Allah, and Allah owns the possessions of the people, but the people do not own the possessions of Allah. Allah is greater, and there is no strength except with Allah, the Most High, the Almighty. Another source states that He also said, To proceed, O people, send forward good deeds for yourselves, and know with certainty by Allah that one of you will be struck unconscious and will leave his sheep without a shepherd. Then his Lord will say to him without any intermediary or barrier, Did my messenger not come and convey my message to you? Did I not give you wealth and bless you? So, what have you sent forward for yourself? The person will look to his right and his left, but he will not see anything. Then he will look forwards, but he will only see the hellfire. So whoever is able to protect his face from the fire, even with half a date, then let him do so. And whoever cannot find even that, then let him say a good word, for the reward of a good action is multiplied by at least 10 times, and up to 700 times. The prophet then stood up for the second time and said, The Hutbah al-Hajjah. All praise is for Allah. I praise Him and ask for His assistance. We seek refuge with Allah from the wrongdoing of our souls and the evil of our actions. Whoever Allah guides, no one can misguide, and whoever Allah misguides, no one can guide. And I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. He then continued, The best of speech is the book of Allah. If Allah beautifies His book in a person's heart, then he has succeeded. On account of the book, he enters Islam after disbelief and chooses it above all other speech. Certainly it is the best speech and the most eloquent. Love those whom Allah loves and love Allah with all your hearts. Do not tire of the speech of Allah or His remembrance, and do not allow your hearts to harden. From everything Allah creates, He chooses and prefers something, then names it the best of His works, the best of His servants, and the best of speech. From everything halal and haram He has given humankind, you should worship Allah, not associate anything with Him, and be conscious of Him in the way He deserves. Be sincere to Allah with the righteous words that leave your tongue, and love one another with the spirit of Allah between you. Allah hates that you break His covenant. May peace be upon you, and the mercy and blessings of Allah. The Prophet's speech was profoundly concise and impactful. As mentioned earlier, the Hutbah al-Hajjah alone led to the likes of Dimad al-Azdi to convert to Islam. The Prophet urged the companions to donate. If there were ever a time where funds were most vital, it was the start of the Islamic civilization. He reminded them of the reality of life and certainty of death. He gave them hope of paradise while reminding them of the consequences of their actions and the punishment of Allah. The Prophet's sermons were perfectly balanced between spirituality and practical application. He rallied the companions to purify their hearts and love Allah with the entirety of their heart. He instructed them to never tire of 2 acts of worship, reading the Quran and zikr, remembrance, of Allah, lest their hearts harden. He then concluded by instructing the companions to love one another for the sake of Allah, and then swiftly reminded them that they have a promise to Allah to fulfill.